listening to The Brad Chandler Show. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Brad Chandler Show. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Brad Chandler Show. Also, make sure to check out my website. You can find it bradchandlershow.com. I really need to update that, though. It's been, the last episode I said I needed to update it, and I still haven't updated it, and I'm being lazy on this long weekend here. So definitely go check that out. I'll be updating that with new musicians, new music from those musicians. I have some links on there from bands and their band camps. So just go check that out, and definitely go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. You can search for me, Brad Chandler Show, and just hit that subscribe button. With me today, I have a guest who is a multi-instrumentalist, I would say.
Sure.
And I have Neil Howell. How are we doing, buddy?
All right, great. It's the weekend. I'm finally off work. It's great.
I got this long weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and I just don't know what to do with myself because I'm usually working like all the time. Yeah. So
I work a lot too, but my spare time is usually spent right here in front of this computer working on music. That's what I've been doing for the past year, and I keep telling myself I'm going to take a break. But I don't know if you've looked. I'm working on my 5th album in 1 year.
Oh Jesus, dude! Yeah, I saw your website, neilhowellmusic.com, and I'm looking at the discography. Now you've released all of these this year.
Since I think last June was the first one.
So you got After the Epiphany.
Yeah.
What kind of music would you say that is? Because it seems like they're all different types of genre.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would consider my music a blend of rock and metal and folk rock music in the vein of, I don't know, Indigo Girls or something like that. My wife got me into that stuff a long time ago, and I identify with it. And it's kind of a personal goal of mine I think rock music has been fragmented so much in the last 20 years. Everybody's got their own little niche. And when I was growing up, everything was just cohesive. It was just rock music. And I really would like to incorporate all of it. And when I put this little studio on my house, I told myself, because I've been in bands in the past and we played a specific thing. The most recent one was probably 10 years ago when we were doing more extreme metal, and it was all we did, which is great. But also,
you want to be diversified,
right? I want to do whatever I want. And
right.
If I wake up in the morning and I want to write a power ballad, I'm going to do it. If I wake up in the morning and I want to write something that's just bonkers, I'm going to do that too. So,
if you want to get up and just start writing a hip hop beat, you're going to do that.
That's probably not going to happen. It's going to be under the big umbrella of rock.
Okay, fair enough. Right. I mean, I've been in that situation where like I listen to some hip hop. I try to I've tried dabbling in it just to see how easy it was, which it's not as easy as a lot of people make it as people think. But it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not mine either. I consider myself a very broad musical person. I really like classical, and that you see some of that in my music. But rap and hip hop is really down the list. Now, not to say that I don't like it like the Beastie Boys. Come on, those guys rock. And
Kerry King did the solo for what was the song? You got to fight for the right to party. I think it was.
Song? Yeah, it was off their first album.
I want to say it was fight for the right to party. If anybody's listening to this, I'm not looking it up. If anybody's listening to this and I'm wrong, you can just call me out.
I saw the Beastie Boys in '94 on Lollapalooza.
I've never been to a hip hop show.
Well, it was Lollapalooza, which you got a little bit of everything. The next band up was Smashing Pumpkins that year. I saw like 3 different Lollapaloozas, which was a great. I wish we would get some big tours like that would incorporate a little bit of everything. Anyway, it was the Beastie Boys came out, and it was a really, really great show.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure it was.
at the time, I had never listened to them.
Oh, really?
I had no idea. I was totally rock back then. I was like, if anything was not rock or metal, it was just out immediately. And they came out, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But
yes. See, I
don't listen to them.
So living in Connecticut, we had a radio station, 104.1, which was like the alternative radio station.
Right.
And we had, the 104.1, then you had the other channel that would also be like the competitor. They'd compete with each other. It's like one would trash on the other one. And we had 106.9. 106.9 was basically, your hard rock, your metal. And then 104.1 had your hard rock, your metal, your punk, and your and then they throw in like the Beastie Boys.
Right.
And so like
was kind of a crossover. I mean,
right.
They were a punk band, I think, before they were.
Well, they all played instruments.
Right.
So it's not, I'm not saying that hip hop artists or rappers don't, play their own instruments, but when you're sitting there making a beat, that's a lot different than if you're making a beat on a board. That's a lot different than getting behind a drum kit and making that same beat. Correct. Or playing like the actual piano and that's not just, and I'm just saying this right now, that's not discrediting any hip hop artists or rappers or producers out there.
I just don't feel it. I'd rather hear somebody scream into a microphone.
Right.
You feel that's something that's real. That's usually pretty honest. And I feel like a lot of hip hop is that kind of turns me off. Not that they aren't real. I don't know. It just doesn't I don't identify with it as much.
No, I got you. Like I grew up on some hip hop, so
right.
I'll always have love for hip hop and rap and whatnot. Like listening.
And everything's time and place. If I'm in the club,
right,
which is never, but say that I was,
right.
I probably want to hear something like that.
Right. I mean, I don't go clubbing. I've never actually gone clubbing. I've gone to bars.
I told you, I'm 44 years old. I've got kids I've got a 22-year-old kid and one who just graduated high school. So yeah, those days are long gone.
Oh yeah. Well, they're out of the house now. So
well, one of them just graduated. And
it's time to get them out of oh man.
Yeah.
So you got another 8 years at least.
It's all right.
So I gotta ask. So actually, let's go back. So, like I said, you have 4 different albums out. I didn't realize that you put these all out this year.
Yep.
That's absolutely incredible. And I mean, obviously there was nothing really to do in the past year.
Well, that was part of it. The pandemic hit, and we were going to go on vacation last year, and I have wanted to put a studio in my house for a long time. And I've got decades of music that's just built up, and it was like I got it going, and it was like the floodgates were unleashed, and I just couldn't stop. I finished that first record, and I was like, wait a second, there's this other thing I want to do. I immediately started it, and I've done that just repeatedly. So, and like I said, I'm just a one guy. I'm not going to be touring anytime soon unless something happens.
And you did a family Christmas EP.
Yeah, I did. That was something I just did for my my wife and my daughter. I thought it'd be fun. So yeah, I wanted to write a song for my daughter. She loves to sing. I mean, she sings constantly. And I was like, I'm going to do a Christmas song. So I wrote the song and had her come in and sing it.
That's like awesome.
My most popular song.
What was that?
That's like my most viewed song.
Really? Yeah. Well, it's got your kid on it. Anything that has a kid on it, it's probably going to get the tens of thousands of views on there.
Oh yeah.
You got some old dudes singing,
Right. Right.
So back to the question. With after the Epiphany, so you said you're into more like rock and whatnot. What style of rock would you say? Because I mean, I listened to Poser,
right,
and Poser was a little heavier.
Yeah, I'd say it's on all of my albums.
So you have a little bit of everything, like anything between like your light rock to your heavy metal.
Right. There's
well, obviously I haven't listened to all 5 albums. So.
Yeah. The first 2 I would like to go back and remaster. This was all new to me, and I didn't know what I was doing for the most part. By the time Poser came, I had figured out how to make it sound good. Poser initially, I get a concept in my head what I'm gonna go for. Poser, I was striving for that sound of the early '90s when grunge had hit, but the '80s metal, which I was very influenced with by, was still very prevalent. There was a time period, a lot of people talk about how grunge just killed metal, but there was a year or two where that wasn't the case. It was kind of, blended.
Interlocking.
Right. And, I was in high school at that point, and for me, it's a magical time. So I wanted to try to capture that time period where grunge and heavy metal kind of intermingled. So that was where I was coming from trying to make that album.
I could just looking at your album cover, I get that vibe.
That's my senior picture. You know how people take like fashion shots.
I definitely have that vibe. It's like definitely feels like a '90s picture. Poser, like who used that? Like you don't hear that word as much anymore.
Oh man, that was like the worst thing. I know that I was called that at some point. Oh, that dude's a poser.
Dude, everybody was called a poser at one point. If you like, I don't know if you remember these, but Jankos. You remember the Janko?
Yeah.
Okay, so I still have a couple pairs of those.
Right.
And I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I absolutely love them. They're comfortable as hell. But I used to I used to wear Janko jeans, but I used to be called a poser because I wasn't a skater. I listened to metal though. But I didn't listen to punk, so I was a poser for wearing Jankos. I was like, how does this make sense?
Right.
Like, what's this poser word? But so I gravitated as soon as you sent me the link to all your stuff. I gravitated straight to poser because of the word affiliation and the album cover, because I did get that vibe of like a Smashing Pumpkins type thing just from the picture. And I'm just going by the album cover. I'm not going by the song.
Huge influence for me. Their first two albums, especially, is huge.
Well, is that a Sunburst? It looks like a Jackson.
Let me tell you the story of that guitar.
Okay.
That was the first guitar that I personally bought for myself.
Okay.
It was a Jackson. I had left it at home one time and came home the next day or after school, and it had fallen over and cracked the headstock and split it right down this way. So I didn't have the money to buy a Jackson headstock, but I could buy a Charvel headstock. So I bought that and put that on there. Years later, I got tired of that guitar, stupidly. I was in my early 20s, and I traded it in for something else. And I never have seen that again. I would pay good money to have that guitar again. I had been told there was a guy that I knew locally that had it for a while, but he sold it. I had no idea where it's at, but I would love to have that guitar back. I've posted it on the internet from time to time, that picture saying, hey, anybody that knows or seen a guitar like this, send it to me. Yeah, but that was...
You would actually be surprised at how well how the internet works when people lose things.
Right.
I had a terrible incident happen. My best friend actually passed away of a heroin overdose.
Oh man.
And yeah, I mean it sucks. And he was a huge Zakk Wylde fan. And Zakk Wylde had his Confederate flag Gibson guitar. Mm-hmm. And my buddy was such a huge Zakk Wylde fan. He had his guitars, he had his amps, he had his pedals. He could literally play every lick. He would listen to it and he would play the solo correctly. Right. That's how good his ear was. So he had this Gibson Studio. It was an Epiphone actually. Mm-hmm. And he sanded it down. And he painted the Confederate flag on it. And I'm just going to put this out there. This was not meant to be like a thing against, race towards racism. It was because of his favorite guitarist. Right. So he painted the Confederate flag onto the guitar. And then in 2004, we went and saw Damage Plan. which is the band for Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul. And he brought his guitar with him, and he got both those guys to sign it.
Wow.
So when he had passed away, I was talking to his family, and they were like, "Is there anything you want?" And I was like, "No, I don't want anything, like any personal belongings or whatever." And I was like, "Where's his guitar?" And I guess he pawned it off, which makes sense in the situation, right? Yeah. So he pawns it off, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I got to figure out where it was." So because of his addiction, he went to this one pawn shop all the time. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to go there. This is like only a couple towns over. So I went there and I talked to them, and they were like, yeah, I know the guitar you're talking about. We sold it to somebody. I was like, I mean, I know you probably can't, but I got to ask, do you know who you sold it to? And they were like, no, we don't keep that information. And I was like, fair enough. So I was like, damn, this sucks. I was on my way to my band practice, and I was telling my guitarist at the time, and I was like, I got to find this guitar, yada, 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 So my guitarist has a huge presence on Facebook and the trade groups, like for instruments and whatnot.
Right.
And he just posts everywhere. And he posted a picture of the guitar and all of his posts and whatnot. 2 hours later, I get a response.
Wow.
The guy who bought the guitar at the pawn shop contacts me. And he's like, hey, man, I just want to let you know I'm sorry about your friend, blah, blah, blah. And like, I didn't want the guitar for free, like I knew the guy bought it. So I'm not going to be like, can you just give me the guitar?
Yeah.
But the amount of money that he wanted for the guitar, I was just like, dude, you're such a dick. I think he bought it for like $300 and he wanted like $8 for it or something like that. And I was just like, I'm not giving you $800 for a guitar you paid $3 for. And he was like, oh, well, it's got Vinnie, Paul, and Dimebag. I'm like, I don't give a shit about those signatures right now.
Right.
Like, those are great and everything, but so I ended up talking him down. I think it ended up becoming, I think it was like $500, and I was really low on
reasonable.
That's a little more reasonable,
right?
And so I didn't have the money, no. And I talked him down to $500, and I still didn't have the money.
Oh my gosh!
So I made a post on my Facebook, and literally like 10 people were like, "Hey, I'll give you money. You just got to come get it." So within like less than like 6 hours, I found the guitar. I talked to the guy, talked him down from the price that he originally wanted, and then I got the money for it too. And I didn't have to, I didn't end up actually spending a dime on it. And thankfully, all these people who are in our scene helped me get it. And it's sitting to my left right now in a case.
Awesome.
And I told his sister, she was like, I'm so happy he's back home. You got it, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, yeah, me too. And like every show I played, because I played guitar and I played bass. Mm-hmm. And so, and the bands that I played guitar in, I would play that guitar for the very first song.
Awesome.
And so I completely understand where like having something so sentimental means so much.
I wish I could go back in time. I remember the day I traded it off. What it was, I had one. I've only got one guitar still. I'm not much of a collector. I'd like to have a couple more guitars, but I'm pretty meat and potatoes kind of guy as far as guitars are concerned. And but that had a Floyd Rose on it, which are pain in the rear when you got to change strings. That was my driving force why I got rid of that guitar. I wanted something I could just string it up. So.
Yep. Now, I'm that type of person. I cannot do a Floyd.
Yeah, I mean they're handy if you're gonna be Kerry King and
Kerry Dime, all that stuff.
Right.
So my last guitarist that I worked with, he is very huge on the. I don't think I've ever seen him play a guitar that wasn't that didn't have a Floyd on it.
Yeah,
and I remember he broke a string during one of our sets, and I was just like, "So what are you going to do now? Like you don't have a backup."
Give me 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me get my pliers and cut the ball end off and stick them down in here.
Yeah, let me bring. Anybody got a toolbox here? Yeah. So back to your music, Poser. Definitely had that '90s vibe just by by your album cover. Like I said, I listened to a song off of there. I don't remember what song it is. It's not letting me click on it right now.
Off a Poser?
Yeah. Everything else is letting me click on it except for Poser. Maybe it's like, oh, you're such a poser, you can't click on it.
What did it sound like?
I don't remember, man. I listened to it the day that
I remember you told me that.
And I was like, man, this is heavy. It's really heavy.
Was Cattle Court?
I don't know because I'm not even able to like open up the link. Yeah, hold on.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I released that one back right before Christmas. Trying to think of the heaviest songs on there. Cattle Court would be one.
Hold on one sec. I'll find it. I'm pulling it up here.
Songs.
Yeah, you really did, dude. All right, here we go. Was it actually Poser?
Could be.
No, it wasn't Poser.
Poser kind of sounds like beefed up Motley Crue, which that song obviously was supposed to be kind of a joke song.
It was definitely Cattle Court.
Yeah. That
it has like a punk metal vibe to it.
Right. I initially, a lot of times I will write songs. I'll just say I want to write a song that sounds like Nirvana wrote it, and that's what that song was initially supposed to be like. It ended up sounded like a Slayer-esque punk song.
Yeah, it definitely had that Slayer's what is it, Ultimate Attitude era.
Right.
I definitely liked it. Granted, that was one of the couple songs that I listened to. So I gotta ask you, and I know it's really it'll be really hard to answer this, but what's your favorite song that you've written?
I'd probably say The Crossing, which is off my last album, Prairie. And that's a fairly heavy song.
The Crossing. And that's on In Time?
No, I just put that out yesterday. That's coming. The In Time's going to be on my next album. I just released the single. The Crossing is off of Prairie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Here we go.
It's it's got a Pink Floyd type vibe at the beginning, but it gets pretty heavy. It's really progressive, which I love progressive metal. Definitely influenced by Dream Theater and Haken and bands like that. And then
let's take a listen to it.
As albums go, I'm kind of partial to the Prairie, but it's always the last thing you did, right?
What was that?
I said as albums go, I'm probably partial to Prairie more than any of my other ones. But it's always the last thing you did that you like the best.
Yeah, it usually is. I could tell your what you said, the Pink Floyd vibe. Yeah, I could definitely sit back tripping on some acid, listen to this. I don't do acid.
No. It won't say like that. If you notice, it's a 7-minute song.
That's fine. I mean, like, so what'd you do? You just like thought to yourself, you're like, I'm gonna write a Pink Floyd type song.
Nope.
So what was your thoughts going into this?
Well, I'm always plunking around on the guitar.
Yeah,
and
I see that.
I came up with the chord progression there at the beginning, and I just went from there. And you'll see it gets to a certain point, it totally changes. And I just got to that point, and I said, what do I need here? And I had this other riff, and I said, that really goes well together. And you know,
This is definitely some chill music and stuff that I don't listen to on a regular basis.
Well, give it a second. Yeah, I try, like I said, I try to incorporate everything into everything. And I'm very influenced by like shoegaze and post rock and things like that as well.
So you said you've always wanted to make your own little studio and whatnot. So what do you use? Is it just your computer and the microphone, or
I've got a computer, a microphone. I have a big keyboard here. Got a bass. Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty basic, but it gets the job done. I use Studio One if anybody's interested in that instead of Pro Tools. I did a lot of research leading.
I like that. I like that change.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can't hear the music, so.
Oh, you can't.
No,
that
that's
sucks.
Okay. That's all right. I know what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, if you can't hear it, then nobody else can. All right, hold on. Let me.
If you like the heavier stuff, my next album is the heaviest thing that I've done so far. Like I said, the bands I've done in the past, it was straight up death metal, black and thrash, really, and I kind of shied away from that for a little bit. Just was tired of it. But,
I got you, dude.
It
gets old.
Well,
playing the same stuff on a daily basis.
Right. But I don't have any problem playing it. And this next album, if you listen to In Time, that's a really upbeat song. It really would fit well on Poser. But it's the only one. It was the first song that I recorded. And I had every intention to do kind of my vision was a summertime album that people can like put in the car and it'd be a road trip album. But that's the only song. Everything else that's come out just about has been really heavy for me. You know, I enjoy like grindcore and things like that, but it's small bursts.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit because we're both. I said something about Cattle Decapitation, who I'm really good friends with, and you were like, "Oh, I've seen them like 10 years ago," and I was like, "Man, I don't know what I would do if I've only seen them once in 10 years."
Right.
I've known the guys.
I used to go to summer slaughter tours.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, just like every year. So I saw a whole bunch of bands. Probably my favorite band that I saw on those tours was Vader. Those guys like were wicked.
So how awesome is it that Vader plays through Vader cabinets?
Right.
My old guitarist and I, we were in a band, and we did a show out in Wisconsin. We played the Milwaukee Metal Festival. Mm-hmm. And this was right when Vader, the cab company, was getting started, and they were a sponsor for the Milwaukee Metal Festival. And we literally played out of like 4 full stacks, not 4, 2 full stacks. And I was just like, "How is this? What are we doing?" Like, and then like we play, and it was just like, "Oh my God!" I swear to God. My guitarist Patrick was getting ready to cream his pants, and he I want to say it was like 12 years later, he finally bought one.
Wow, I don't even. I've got 2 small amps. Most of my stuff's done straight on the computer.
Yeah, I have a crate cab sitting in my living room right now that is literally for me to put stuff on. Like my keys, my wallet, and stuff like that. It's like a table, basically.
Both are mine are in my closet. I haven't had them out in forever. I can get better sounds from my computer anymore with just modeling and stuff like that.
Absolutely, no, I get that. What kind of computer do you use?
It was home built. My son's my oldest one. He's a computer guru, and I said, "Dude, I need a smoking hot computer." So he built it for me.
And he was like, "How much money are you willing to pay?"
Exactly. I think he asked me those exact words, and I said this amount, and he said no problem.
Yep. And he was like, I can build it for cheaper and charge you more. You remember
Yeah,
all that time you forgot to give, you didn't give me an allowance?
No.
I'm making up for it now.
No, he had built his own several years ago, and he still uses it. But yeah, this thing will make breakfast for me if I want it to. It's smoking. I was looking at prices, several grand for like something I really wanted, and he said I can do that, no problem. And I ended up spending like $1,000 on it, and
That's incredible.
for what that I would have got bought something like this, and on retail it'd been double that or more.
Yeah, exactly. I've been trying to find somebody who can build computers for me, and I just said, you know what, screw it. I just went to the store and bought me like the cheapest computer so that I can do the podcast stuff.
Right.
And they were like, oh, what do you need it for? I was like, basic necessity. And they were like, what does that mean? I was like, basic necessity. And the guy was like, well, we have this one and it's got this big of a, I'm like, I don't care. Like I literally have 3 terabytes of external hard drives. So I don't care about the hard drive and how much you're going to hold there and whatnot.
Right. So
all my music, my artwork, my shows and whatnot, they get downloaded straight to my external hard drive, and it doesn't go on my computer. So
I don't do anything on this computer but music production and some video production, which I'm not a very good video guy, and I really wish that I could get better at that.
I'm the same way, man. I have like 4 different video programs, and they're all like different, and I don't know how to use any of them.
Some of it, I mean, I've learned to use it a little bit, but I'm not very good still. I put a video out for that End Time song, had my wife shoot it on my iPhone, and I just took the footage and chopped it together. But, I see guys that have like all these like cool effects and things like that. And I was like, I want to do that. But, part of it, I'm just old, dude. I missed the boat when all that stuff came around.
You met the technology has changed tremendously, because I remember back in the day when I knew how to use computers and stuff, and now it's just like,
dude, I'm so old. When I was in high school, I took a computer class in high school. Windows wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
Well, like Windows 3.1, but it wasn't really Windows. Windows 95 was what really set it off.
I remember Windows 95. I
graduated high school in 94. So I went to college the next year, and I had to do some work on a computer. I go into the computer lab, and I get sit down. I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's Windows, like, what we're used to now. But I was like, I had to have a kid come over and was like, what am I doing here? So, I've seen the beginning of it all, man. Been around.
I started off using Apples, and that was in like 2nd grade. And we did the computers with like Oregon Trail on it.
Yep.
And stuff like that. And then we had at our house, we had that base, I think it was DOS or whatever. Yeah. And we used to play like Pong on it, or something similar to Pong.
At where I work, we use a program that was written in 1992. It's still, and we still use it, but it's a DOS-based program. So anytime we get a new employee to use this thing, they're always like, what am I doing here? We have to tell them. You always want to click on it. You can't click on it. It's all keyboard based. So.
Yeah, it's horrible. And everything that's keyboard based, it's just like, especially nowadays, it's like, what? Right. Sometimes at my work, I have to tell the IT guy he has to dumb it down to me, and he's just like, type this in, and he'll do like a screenshot or whatever and send it to me, and I'm like, okay, thanks.
So I was going to ask you, since you got your ear to the underground, I've got 2 cousins. It's they are my mother's sister's sons, and they are been in a grindcore band for years.
Okay.
They're out of Dallas, and the name is Acolyte. It's been around. It's AKK OLYTE, I believe, and it's 2 brothers. It's bass
AKK. What? Say that again.
OLYTE. I didn't.
OLY.
If you run into like Gonzalez, this is their last name, Stefan and Aaron Gonzalez. I was just curious if they had reached your part of the world because they've actually been around. And what you specialize in is that kind of stuff. From what I can tell, you really like that. I was just curious if you never heard of them.
No, I can't say as I have. For what it's worth, you don't see too many Dallas or Texas bands coming up through the Northeast.
Right. Where are you? Boston?
I'm actually in Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Is that at Rex? I was looking at your picture behind you, the baseball. Is that
That's Fenway Park.
That's what I thought.
Huge Red Sox fan, man. And I actually went to the game yesterday. It was the first game at Fenway Park with full capacity. So,
well, here's my feelings on the Red Sox because we're huge Cardinal fans. Years ago, when I was a kid, because y'all are in the American League, it was like, if I have to root for an American League team, I'll root for the Red Sox because I hate the Yankees. Everybody hates the Yankees.
At least we can agree on that one,
right? But it was 2004. Y'all beat us in the World Series.
2004, 2013.
Right, sucked.
Yeah, we're 8-1 against you guys.
Yeah, y'all broke the curse against us.
If we didn't just break it, we swept you guys.
Right, I know.
I have another podcast where I do Red Sox.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm really huge into the Boston Red Sox and whatnot.
My brother's he runs a local radio station, and years ago I used to go on he's got a morning show. I used to go on his show and did a segment called the Cardinal Fanatic, and I would do like baseball stuff with him. I haven't kept up with baseball as much in recent years, but there was a time if the game was on, I was always watching it.
Yeah,
but you know what? The Red Sox and the Cardinals, those are like, at least those are like not expansion teams. Those are like the cool
yeah.
teams.
I got you. Back to music.
I'm sorry, man.
So what bands what bands were you listening to when you were younger that got you into saying, "Hey, I want to play guitar"?
Motley Crue. That would have been.
Crue.
Oh yeah. So I started playing in '89. I would have been about 12 years old. A friend of mine got a guitar for Christmas, and we were all kind of like listening to hair metal, that was it. That was what was going on.
Yeah.
And I had bought Dr. Feelgood, which just opened a whole world. Now, my brother, who I was mentioning, right, he's 7 years older than me now, and I shared a room with him, and he was always listening to stuff like that. But I was a kid, and I didn't really pay attention. It didn't really hit me until like junior high. But he always had Metallica, from the early days, was listening to Kill 'Em All and the Ride the Lightning and things like that. But that album, I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So that's when I started playing guitar. So I was heavily influenced by that. But then I got into heavier things like the thrash, Metallica, Slayer, things like that, which then grunge came along. I really enjoyed all of that. And death metal started around that time too with, I think my first
death metal started in the 80s.
Well, it did, but
it didn't get real big until like the early 90s.
Early 90s. The first death metal album I ever bought was Obituary.
Yeah, so Obituary and Incantation were the first bands I found that were death metal. I didn't find Cannibal Corpse probably until maybe, I want to say like the fourth or fifth death metal band I found.
Right.
Which is weird thinking about it now.
Early, I still to this day, their early Cannibal Corpse didn't do it for me. Who's that first singer they had?
Chris Barnes.
Yes. They didn't really do it for me until they got Corpse Grinder. So
yeah, the guy with no neck.
Right. Exactly. Have you ever seen them? Surely you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I went to Metal Blade.
It's amazing what he does, man. His neck's like this big, and it's just like the entire time.
I went to Metal Blade's 25th anniversary, and that was the first time I got to see Cannibal Corpse, and I was just because I'm a huge Metal Blade fan.
Yeah.
Pretty much like if a band is on Metal Blade, I'm listening to them.
Okay.
And it had I want to say there was Cannibal Corpse, the Black Dahlia Murder, who's one of my favorite bands, Cattle Decapitation.
I've seen them like 3 times.
They're-
Black Dahlia Murder.
they
And the lead singer, God,
Trevor.
yeah, he looks nothing like he used to from when I first started seeing him.
Now he doesn't. Before he
Right.
used to be short
That's
hair,
right.
and now he's got like the super long hair, and he's like, "Hey, man, hey." And the funny
Yeah.
thing about those guys, they all used to be straight edge, and now
Oh,
now they're
not.
now they're all about drinking beer and smoking pot.
See, I haven't. The last time I saw them was probably around the same time I saw Cattle Cat. Yeah, but they opened up for several different bands, guys. I'm going way back here, and I can't remember all the shows I saw, but they were always there. And I remember the big tattoo he had was it Heartburn?
Yeah, Heartburn.
Yeah.
The first time that I saw them, a friend of mine was like, or a friend of mine's band was playing, opening up for them, and they were a local band, and I was really good friends with every single one of them. And they were like, "Hey, we're playing with." It was Cattle Decapitation, Goat Whore, and the Black Dahlia Murder. And I was just like, yeah, never heard of these guys. So, and then like leading up to it, I had another friend like, "Oh, you've never heard of Cattle Decapitation? You've never heard of the Black Dahlia Murder?" It's like, what like what is it called? The elitist, it's like, "Oh, you've never heard of these guys?" And my friend had me listen. Yeah, basically. So they sent me a bunch of stuff by both Cattle and the Black Dahlia Murder, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is insane!"
Right.
Like I can't understand anything these guys are saying, but the music is amazing.
Right.
And so I'm listening. I loved Cattle Decapitation. I listened to the very first album I heard by them was "To Serve Man." So I go there, and I had heard the Black Dahlia Murder's version of "Paint It Black."
Mm-hmm.
And so this story goes back to like 2005, 2006, back when MySpace was still a thing.
Yep.
So when I find like a band that I like on the internet or something, I usually get invested into it. It's like, "Oh my god, this band is so good, this great and everything." So I started a MySpace page for Cattle Decapitation.
Oh wow.
I started a MySpace page for the Black Dahlia Murder. So
like a fan page or for them?
It was actually like a fan page, but I didn't say that it was a fan page.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So people thought it was all Cattle Decapitation.
I kind of miss MySpace, don't you?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no.
I mean,
you have Bandcamp now, so
right? Yeah, I guess.
I mean, if it was down to like picking my top 8, yeah, I miss that. Like, tell which one of my friends pissed me off this day.
We had music on there back then in that heavy band that we were on, and it was nice because you could just put it right at the top of the page. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But back to the story. So I ended up posting the Black Dahlia Murders version of "Paint It Black," and I want to say it was probably like a year or two later. I ended up getting a message from Mike, the drummer from Cattle Decapitation. He's like, "Hey man, Travis wants to talk to you. He wants to know if we can take over the page." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." So I'm emailing with Travis a little bit, and he's telling me this, that, and the other thing. And I give him all the information to the page, and he thanked me. He was awesome about it. He was like, "Thank you for building," because I think there was like over 108,000 people that were like on the page or whatever. I forget how MySpace worked, but and then he was just like, "Hey, the next time we're in your area, let me know and I'll get you into the show for free." I was like, "No, I pay for my tickets," So that was cool. Then at this point in time, Zach was the drummer for the Black Dahlia Murder. He sends me a message to the MySpace page, and he's like, "Hey man, Brian wants to talk to you." Who's the guitarist? I think it was Brian. Could have been Brian, or it could have been Trevor. But they wanted to talk to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool," And they never actually ended up talking to me. And then Zach was like, "Hey man, we just want to take over the page, yada yada yada." And so I was like, "Yeah, cool. Here, take over the page." And they had like 300,000 people, something crazy like that. And then I went and I saw them afterwards, and they were like, "Oh, we fucking hate that guy that started the MySpace page." Like, didn't realize it was me. You know, they were telling me, they were like, "That guy's such a fucking asshole." If I ever see him, I was like, "Jesus Christ, bro." And the only reason why they were pissed off at me is because after I posted the Paint It Black cover, every time they would play a show, someone would be like, "Oh, can you play Paint It Black?"
Oh,
and because the guitars are like 3 or 4 tracks, they can't. I mean, you could, but they were too lazy to do it.
Well, you know, I've considered doing some covers myself. I don't know what to do though. I mean, I do, but it's like that's such a scary thing for me to take on somebody else's work because I don't want to like fuck it up. You know, it's like,
oh no, I definitely hear you, dude.
It's going to be a song I like, obviously, and I just don't know. It's like, every album I've put out, I'm like, I think I'm going to do a cover, and then I'm like, no.
You know what you do? You start off easy, do a punk song,
right?
I mean, how do you fuck a punk song up? Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know. Me being the weird, I'm not weird, but
you're weird.
My elusive taste.
You're weird.
I would want to do something that's like
you're a musician. Like, you're weird.
Part of me, I want to do something no one's ever heard before and like expose this weird thing that no one's ever discovered. But then again, it's 2021. Everybody's heard of everything now.
Yeah,
you know,
by now
it's for you to look it up. So you can't be that cool dude anymore. It's like, oh, dude, I know this one band. I bet you know, like, you know what you got to do? You got to incorporate like all these different types of instruments. You got to make your own instrument. You got to make a new instrument, you know, like a windpipe guitar or something like that. Something you got like a big tube coming out and you're blowing into it. And
nope, Bon Jovi did it.
Oh, that's right.
Who did it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like talk boxes. I don't like wah pedals. You won't find I do like wah if it's used in that 70s, you know, that sound, bow chicka pow. I don't mind it then, but wah's used in guitar solos and things like that. I just
some people Hammett's definitely out of
well, you know, I love Metallica. I love their first 5 albums anyway. I love it. You know, but it's definitely overused, and it's just. I'm glad you said the
first 5 albums.
Right.
Because everybody leaves out. Everybody leaves out they're all like, oh, the first 4 albums are good. It's like, well, dude.
You talking about the Black Album?
Yeah.
Come on.
The Black. I was just telling KM on the last episode. I was like, the Black. If it wasn't for the Black Album, dude, I don't know how much longer I would be listening to Vanilla Ice.
There isn't anybody that's in metal today that doesn't know a lot to that album because that album was.
That album is still selling to this day.
Right. You know,
like, it's in the top 10.
I saw Metallica on that tour, and to this day, it is the best show I've ever seen, bar none. It was the best show I've ever seen.
I have been to countless shows. I've seen, bands like Iron Maiden. I've seen bands like Ozzy Osbourne, bands like that. I've seen Rob Zombie. I've seen Marilyn Manson. Fuck that guy now.
Right.
But I have to say, the two times that I've seen Metallica probably are the best 2 shows I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, that was incredible.
I've seen
Manson too twice. He opened up for 9 Inch Nails in '94 on the Downward Spiral tour, which I'd never heard of that guy before. Never heard of him before, and he came out doing some stuff, and I'm like, "Whoa, what is this guy?" And
right. A lot of people were probably like that.
Less of a fan now.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you know why I said that.
Yep.
But my girlfriend and I, we went to go. She's a huge Metallica fan too. Like Metallica is both our favorite band, and they were playing like 2 hours away, and we were like, "Screw it! When are we going to go see Metallica?" We're, she's 29, I'm 36 at the time, and she's like, "I'm going to buy the tickets, and we're just going to go." And so we went, and I just couldn't believe how good they were, and not just how good they were. It's like you had songs like "Fuel." where it was like, okay, well, it's somewhat heavy on the album, but when it's played live, it's like, holy crap! I didn't think they could play it any heavier.
Right.
You know, they put on such a great show. And then I want to say it was like 4 years later. We decided, not 4 years later. It was like a couple of years later. We decided to drive out to Philadelphia to go see Metallica. And I made the mistake. And a lot of people were like, oh, you're a poser or whatever. But I made the mistake of buying floor tickets and not getting there early. So I couldn't see the band because people were in front of me. Yeah. You know? So we were close enough to the stage. We were close enough to the stage, but we had to like do one of these to like try and see people. And then finally there was like this asshole in front of us that was like 8 feet tall.
That would be me.
And then no, it's not you. This guy was like 400 pounds and 8 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
And my girlfriend is like, I want to say 5'3", maybe.
Oh,
so kind of short.
5'4", yeah.
So this guy is in front of her and she can't see. And he's just like, I tapped him on the shoulder. I'm like, hey man, do you mind moving? Like, I didn't care if I couldn't see. I get uncomfortable or whatever, but I'm trying to help my girlfriend out here. And I was like, do you mind moving a little to the left, just so my girlfriend can see? And he's like, I'm not moving. She can get on my shoulders if she wants. And I'm like, dude, I really wanted to punch this guy right in the face. So I didn't do anything. And I didn't notice this until he ended up leaving. My girlfriend grabbed her sunglasses, and the end of it, the pointy end.
Yeah.
She was stabbing him in the back. Not like stabbing him, but like she like every time she would get pushed, it would go into his back. And I'm just like, why were you doing that? Like, that's not cool. I mean, it's funny as fuck now, but it's not cool.
Do they still have mosh pits at Metallica shows, or are people too old?
I don't. There were some people trying to start mosh pits.
Yeah. I haven't seen them since then, and I don't. A lot of the shows I go to now, it's an older audience, and people are just not into that anymore. But some of the shows are still brutal. Last mosh pit I was in was Slayer, but this was like 2006.
I only picked to one song for one band. Actually, now it's two bands. I picked for Hatebreed or All Shall Perish. No, it's not All Shall Perish. It's Suicide Silence. I keep calling them All Shall Perish because their vocalist was the vocalist for All Shall Perish. It's Last Breath. It's literally like 1 minute and 40 seconds, and I'll go absolutely ape shit during that song, and then afterwards I'm dead for the rest of the night.
I'm thinking about it. Probably was sooner than that. I saw Job for a Cowboy.
Love those guys.
Yeah, like 2010 or something like that.
So the one thing that I'm not a big fan of at shows is the karate. And
yeah, that's a new thing. I'm old school, dude.
Yeah,
you're supposed to run around in a circle.
That's my thing. I'd like that, or just like push
Don't
into
hurt
each
anybody.
other.
Yeah. Don't hurt anybody. Right.
Why are we doing fucking karate? Why are we practicing for our black belt? Yeah. It's like I have friends that do that, and I'm like, dude, you look fucking retarded.
The most brutal mosh pit I was ever in was Pantera.
I believe it. I believe it. The most brutal, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for this. One of the most brutal fucking pits I've ever been in. It was it 2001? I want to say it was 2001. It was this 2001 Snowcore Fest or something like that. It was Boy Hits Car, Fear Factory, and Kitty.
Kitty.
Yeah,
I like Kitty.
So Kitty was the headliner over Fear Factory. You go figure,
I like Fear Factory too, but
yeah, but Kitty at the time were a lot bigger than Fear Factory.
Yeah,
but
when was this? 2000.
This was I want to say it was like 2001, maybe 2002.
Because Fear Factory, the manufacturer came in with 95, so and that's like the ultimate album for me from them.
Yeah, I got you. So Kitty was probably one of the most like brutal pits I've ever been in, and I get a lot of shit for that when I tell people that. Like I've been in some pretty fucking brutal pits as well. I've been in some hardcore shows where I've seen people like literally running on top of each other and like hanging from the rafters and shit like that.
Right.
But when I saw Kitty, I wasn't expecting what I got because I had just started going to shows probably that year that I saw them. And Kitty starts, and I believe it was Brackish. It started playing, or whatever. It was off the first album.
Yeah.
And I literally went from the front all the way to the back of the venue and wasn't trying to. I got pushed. I got pulled down. I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Do whatever, because I don't know what to do now.
The ragdoll syndrome.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It was so bad.
The most fun I was ever in was Rage Against the Machine.
Oh,
that was
Jesus.
93. And I had never, and I guarantee you, everybody at that show, they were brand new. No one had ever heard them before. They were brand new, first on the bill. And they came out, and then everybody was like, what is this? And the people just went nuts. They were just ready.
So I get crap for this one too. I think Tom Morello is very overrated.
You mean as far as guitar player?
Yeah.
He's a good guitar player. He does what he needs to get done for Rage Against the Machine.
He does what he needs to get done.
Yeah. I mean, he's
nothing
good.
More.
He's good.
He's okay.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing about having an opinion. It's your opinion.
I'm not gonna say that he's a bad guitar player.
I'm not saying he's a bad guitar player. I just think he's overrated.
I think skill wise, his use of electronics and things like that, and the scratching stuff. A lot of people hadn't really done or seen that before. It's
right, but back in the 90s, it was a newer thing.
Right.
And then nowadays, it's like a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's such a great guitarist." It's like he's really not.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
He's an okay guitarist.
He's not on the level of Steve Vai or any of those guys. And I haven't even touched on those. We were talking about what influenced me. Obviously, guitar heroes, those Steve Vais and John Petrucci's and those dudes. That's a big part of me too. So
I recently started getting into Stevie Ray Vaughan, like a few years ago, and what got me turned on to him, because I'm not a lead guitarist, I'm a rhythm guitarist, but I was never really big into leads, and then I saw the Stevie Ray Vaughan video. I don't remember what song he was playing, but he's playing the song, and he's soloing. He's just soloing. He's shredding away. He breaks a string. He doesn't miss a beat.
I think I've seen that video.
And he's just playing and playing and playing. And he's like, oh, I can't play it on that string anymore. I'll play it up on this string. I'll play it down on this string. So like the fact that he did miss a beat, he broke his string, and it just kept going. Just made me like. So I started watching more Stevie Ray Vaughan videos, and I was just so impressed.
For that type of music, that deep bluesy rock,
right?
I mean, yeah, he was the pinnacle of, in my opinion, of that style of music. I'd let who else is in that? Clapton and people like that. But that would be heresy for a lot of guys to say. I think Clapton is overrated.
I can agree. With you.
I don't want to knock his music. I don't want to knock what he did, but compared to other people at the same time, I mean,
the other
he'd probably come in and just rip me a new one if I came in, But
he'd sit there and be like, "Oh, you think I'm overrated?" And he'd shred right in front of me and be like, "Yeah, okay,
yeah."
But Neil, we're almost out of time here. I want you to go ahead and give a plug out to your website, every place where people can find your music, and what to expect if you have any more news coming out.
Yes, I got new. You can find me neilhowmusic.com. I'm on Bandcamp. All my music is pretty much anywhere: Apple, iTunes, Amazon, all those places like that.
Spotify.
That's right, Spotify. I don't use Spotify. I think I'm the only person in the world. I'm an Apple guy, so I gravitate towards that. And as far as what's coming out, I just released a song In Time. It's going to be off on my new album, which I have yet to title. I haven't really quite figured out the title for that. But that'll be coming out this summer. It's going to be a heavier album, so I'll definitely send you a link. I'll send you a download code for it when I get it.
Much appreciated, man. I'll take a listen to it. Absolutely.
I'll send you. I got some download codes for Prairie as well. I should have sent that to you already. I'll give you one of those. I'll get you one of those. And if anybody else is interested, and I've got several still, so just hit me up on Twitter, and I'll give you one of those as well.
How can they find you on Twitter?
Howell Neil W. At Howell Neil W.
All right, everybody, go ahead and check out some Neil Howell music. Like you said, you can find him on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, which now we've found out that he doesn't use Spotify.
I do, but I'm not. I've had Apple for so long; they've got the claws in me. I can't get out of it.
I gotcha. So definitely go ahead and check that out. Definitely follow us on Twitter, Brad Chandler Show, and check out the website. Like I said, you can find that bradchandlershow.com, and definitely subscribe on YouTube. Also, we are looking for, I say we as in there's more than one person actually running the show, but I am looking for a co-host. So if you are interested and you have a wide variety of music, you could talk about all different types of music. Definitely hit me up on Twitter. That's twitter.com/Brad Chandler Show. I had a guy hit me up on an email, and I asked him, can you just DM me? And he's like, I can't unless we follow each other. And then he just didn't follow me. And I'm like, okay, well, you can't follow me, so I don't want anything to do with you. But definitely check it out, guys. Have a good one.